After a few months away, we are back, and I'm excited to bring you up to speed with everything that has changed here in the market in Ocean City. Some things have gotten more exciting, some things are a little bit worrisome, and I will get into everything right now. As I'm sure you know, the mortgage rates have gone a little bit haywire as a result of oil prices primarily. We came into this year not sure what the Federal Reserve was going to do. Were they going to cut rates, which is what our administration here wanted them to do? It was going to pressure them to do that. Was inflation going to take back off again? All of that has become kind of a nothing burger because what has happened as a result of our conflict with Iran is oil prices have gone through the roof. And as a result, that has thrown all markets into a little bit of chaos. Now, if that ends up being a longer term issue, and I'm talking weeks or months instead of days, we are going to see some pressure here, I think, in the mortgage market. We went from 3-year lows to the highest rates we've seen in 3 to 4 months. Again, I haven't been bringing you those nice lower rates over the last couple of months as I was on a bit of a hiatus, but mortgage rates are basically back where they were last time you heard from me back in December, where generally they're in the low sixes. We're not really seeing anything into the fives unless it's an adjustable rate mortgage. But there's still a lot of great options, and certain lenders are doing a little bit more to get some business. There are new product lines that have opened up. Certain credit unions, for example, that previously had a very restricted market for 10% down on second homes have opened things up a little bit. So happy to talk to you about any of that you would like. But the key here is that we have had a bit of a chaotic year. Mortgage rates are just one piece. The second piece has to do less with inventory and more with demand. To put it simply, we have seen 22% fewer homes go under contract compared to the same period last year, right, through mid-March. Now, some people have defended that I've talked to and mentioned that statistic to, of saying, well, the weather in February was horrible. That had to make an impact. And I agree. I'm sure it did have some impact. February probably would have been a little bit stronger if people could come down and actually see the properties. However, I don't want to make too big of a stink about that. And again, I will come back to this shortly. I want to keep going before I get tied down in storytelling mode. But prices seem to be decelerating. We'll see this in the charts, and I have some conflicting anecdotes for you on that. But by and large, it seems that demand has pulled back, and as a result, prices aren't going as crazy market wide. They're still going crazy in certain segments, which we will talk about. New listings. Again, we have had a pretty reasonable start to the year, but we are way under where we were last year. Specifically in March, we basically had more that happened in January and February than last year, but way fewer here so far in March. And the timing last year was about a 50-50 split halfway through March, right? We had half. So unless we see a strong second half in terms of new listings, I don't expect us to catch up. And if we've seen this in the past, fewer new listings tends to mean fewer homes under contract. Now, pending sales, again, if it weren't for last March, which was an anomaly, we had 81 homes go under contract, which again used to be fairly normal, but over the past 4 to 5 years, it was not. This would actually look like a solid March, pretty normal March. But again, compared to last year, it's not the same. Now, closed sales, again, lagging metric. We're going to start to see things slow down. We had a very strong last year, not so strong start to this year with, again, 22% fewer under contract. We should expect that to follow suit. Now, this I've been expecting for a while, honestly. Months of inventory with single family homes tended to be on a somewhat predictable roller coaster. Last year really took the wind out of that. As you see in March last year, it then picked up closer to 6 months of inventory, and then it dropped back down. Whereas in previous years, it went all the way up to 7 or 8 before coming back down. So I expect this upward trend to likely continue as, again, demand has pulled back a bit. Now, median sale price for singles, again, prices really are essentially where they've been for the last year, not much ahead. Is that going to be temporary? To be determined, right? We are still seeing a lot, and that's why the median can be very helpful here. We're seeing a lot of very high-end homes listing, 10 million, 14 million. If we were to look at the mean, it would paint a slightly different picture. But we know that the luxury market's going to keep humming ahead because that segment of the population is not hurt, like a lot of families who are traditionally trying to buy here as a second home or trying to move here full time. Those buyers are not touched the same. So this median will be interesting to see where it goes from here. And days on market have come back down markedly from where they were last year. Again, will that continue, or was it just a fairly strong fall for single family homes? Time will tell. Condos, more the same here, rinse and repeat. It is the more, seems to be the more reliable and stable of the two markets, old dependable here. Again, very consistent across the board. Yes, again, slightly above where we were this time last year. Not crazy. And we are running at about 7 months where we haven't seen much of a positive change or any positive change. Now, okay, I have been involved in multiple offer situations this month, all on condos, and those condos have gone over asking. So it is not to say that all demand is gone. Please do not hear this, see this, and think that, oh my gosh, the world is crumbling and everything's going to come crashing down. I don't expect that. It's just not everything is selling. The right properties, priced well, in good condition, are still selling quickly, and there's a lot of demand for them. But that's not the majority of the properties available. So a lot are not selling. Days on market, again, that speed on the quote unquote good condos, keeping things very, very low. Now, speed, again, January was a slow month, but not as slow as past Januaries. February, a little bit slower than past Februaries. And again, I think part of that is because of the snow and the weather. But March here is not as fast as past Marches. We have had our share of new listings. We are still going to fall short of where we were last March, I believe, and likewise with the amount of homes going under contract. So March is shaping up to be a bit of a letdown. And I'm not going to go as far as to say it's a sign of things to come yet. There's still too much up in the air. But our speed, by and large, has picked back up after, again, it ended the year very, very quick. We had a great end to the year as a market, but we've slowed down for Q1. Now, feel free to pause and read this if you want. I'm not going to go line by line here. I want to tell you a couple things. So, first of all, mortgage rates have been erratic. And now more than ever, it's important to connect with a local lender who knows what they're doing, knows what products are the right fit for you. And I have plenty that I'd be happy to recommend. Having the right lender, especially in a multiple offer situation, who can move quickly and for better or for worse, is a known quantity to agents around here, could make the difference in you securing property or not. And by and large, I've seen their interest rates beat others that are not in this market. Whether that's a risk tolerance thing, I don't want to get into details on that, but point stands. Make sure you have a good local lender here in your corner that can help you get the job done. Inventory wise, it's going to be interesting to see if we continue to see the same trends, right? Are we going to peak in May and then drop down through August and then pick back up in the fall again? I just have a feeling, and I don't have any data to prove this. I don't have any stats to throw at you for this. It just feels a little bit like there's trepidation entering the market again. You can point to mortgage rates saying, yes, it's made it more expensive. That's one thing, right? But when you have the price of oil skyrocketing like it did, when you have international turmoil dominating headlines, I think it makes it hard for some people to feel comfortable and confident pulling the trigger on a second home. That, quite frankly, again, unless you're putting a lot of money down, these typically aren't making you cash flow, right? They have historically made families a lot in terms of appreciation over time. But if there's caution, right? If there's a conservative buyer out there who, is just watching out for downside risk, I think some of those are the people that have pulled back. I've talked to a few of them, so I'm familiar with the reasoning, and it's going to be an interesting spring. Let's just put it that way. And prices again decelerating, but I've been, I believe, in four multiple offer situations this month. One is the listing agent, three representing buyers, and it has been all over the map with prices that people are putting out there. But these situations have all occurred on properties that were priced well and in good condition, that were move-in ready, and in good locations, right? We're talking close to the beach, um, desirable from either rental or personal use. These are not far off the beaten path. And again, Ocean City, some people are just glad to be here. But the reality is there are micro markets within this market, and it would be a little silly to think otherwise. So we cannot treat all properties the same. This is not 2021 and 2022, where no matter what it was, what shape it was in, it's getting a lot of attention. That's not the case anymore. That time has ended. So What I really want to leave you with is that there are still opportunities out there. Looking at what's on the market right now, I can see a handful of properties that I believe are a good value, even at their asking price. But because they've been sitting for a little bit, I think there's probably some room to negotiate. We are entering that kind of market again, where you as a buyer likely have a little bit of leverage. And yes, many sellers, especially here in a second home market where motivation is typically pretty low for sellers, it may take time for reality to sink in, right? For being on the market for 1 month, and then it's two, and then it's three. If you haven't dropped the price, if you haven't had any offers, you clearly need to listen to the market or simply accept that it's not the right time for you to sell. But engaging in those conversations is everything. This is going to be one of those years where being proactive and poking on some of these properties, engaging in discussions with these listing agents can make the difference between you securing a property for a good price or ending up in a competitive situation. Because I've seen it many times where buyers have not, I'm not going to say doubted me, but I don't think they've fully understood or believed where I was coming from when I recommended making an offer before a price reduction is made. If you take an opportunity, right, if there are no offers that have been submitted yet, or we know that one was, but it was egregiously low and the seller didn't counter, you have the opportunity to engage this person in a conversation, show that you are a serious buyer who's ready to move, and potentially secure the property for a price that would have brought in other buyers. So hypothetically, if there's a property out there for $1.2 million, you wouldn't pay a penny over 999, 999 because you don't want to be in that $1 million price point, even though the sellers now pay the mansion tax, which again, we talked about that in the past. That shouldn't necessarily stop you from making that offer, right? If you wait until that price is reduced to 1.1 million and you're still waiting for it to drop even lower before you make your offer, I can almost guarantee you somebody's going to scoop that up. I've seen it a few times, and I hope I don't see it anymore. But the reality is, this market is still very strong. It's still a dependable market. And I know I don't really watch the news, but I read plenty. A lot of headlines are talking about, oh, the real estate market is down 17%. Please don't listen to that. And I'm not saying that as an agent, right, whose job is to help people buy and sell homes. There is massive amounts of context missing from those headlines. What parts of the country are we seeing that? Are we counting here the same as the middle of Kansas, right? Two totally different markets. By and large, once you start to break the real estate market down into different segments, whether it's Northeast versus Southeast, whether it is coastal versus interior, they're moving in different directions. Again, here we have a lot of well-to-do, wealthy buyers, owners, sellers, and they tend not to be as pushed or pressed by the economy when things shift. Therefore, that motivation to, oh gosh, I got to get out of here. I have to get my investment or my equity out tends not to happen. I'm not saying it never happens, but please, again, do not expect the sky to fall. Do not wait around for clearance rack prices. I don't think that that is ever going to happen here. The cat's out of the bag with regards to Ocean City and the Jersey Shore as a whole. And we continue to see more and more people paying attention to it. Even if, like I said, demand seems to have pulled back, it's not that the buyers have disappeared. It's just they're waiting for their opportunity to strike, whether that is if mortgage rates come down, if that's, the Iran conflict clears up, oil goes back down, whatever it may be, a million reasons. So, it's a lot to think through. I threw a lot at you. If you want to talk through any of this, feel free to reach out. Happy to be a sounding board. Again, no obligations ever, no pressure to do anything. But I know how much having deep discussions has helped clients of mine and people who ended up not buying, help them to make a decision, getting informed. So you're not having a second or a third job, right? Tracking Zillow and thinking about the shore when, a quick 5-minute conversation, we can have a heart to heart, if you will, an honest conversation, and it will help put you on one side of the fence or the other, so that you can focus on the things in your life that matter the most. So, that said, thank you for hanging out with me. I will be back. It will not be another 2 months before the next video, and I will be back routinely. So, I appreciate you as always, and I will see you next time.